Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the CertiK Security Leaderboard Showcase. I'm your host, Jesse. As you all know, in this showcase, I host a Web3 project for a live AMA where we discuss their work with CertiK. We will touch on the recently launched Skynet for Community platform, and we'll throw in some questions submitted by you, the viewers. Our goal is to raise the standards of security and transparency across the entire Web3 ecosystem. The Security Leaderboard, found at CertiK.com, is a free tool to help you safely navigate the blockchain world. And today's featured project is King Finance. Let's take a look at King's entry on the new Skynet for Community platform. So here we have the Skynet for Community platform. If we navigate to the discovery page, that's the home page. You've got a list of all the projects ranked by different metrics: security score, market, and community. We'll head over to King and take a look at their specific page. So King has been audited by CertiK. You'll find more data than other projects that haven't been audited by CertiK, but we cover more than 10,000 Web3 projects. So here you've got the security score up top. King doing very well with an A rating, code audit history, some price analysis, a trading view integration there, social analysis as well. Neutral to good sentiment for King overall, and some related social influences as well. So super useful platform. We will talk more about that later, and you can check that out for yourself at skynet.certik.com. But I will go ahead and bring on Benson, who is CEO of King Finance. And we've got Travis too.
Great to be here. Honestly, I'm very excited to be having this chat with CertiK. We've been working together for so long. Honestly, it's been a while. Even before we were King Finance, we were in touch with CertiK. Definitely leading company in the auditing industry, in decentralized finance, obviously. So we've always recommended it to our customers. Now that we've built our own company based in Dubai, and of course based in a whole DeFi and Web3 ecosystem, we've definitely relied our audit security on CertiK as well. It's been a pleasure, honestly. I think we've had a bit more than some projects have, both for due to our nature and due to, of course, the way that we've communicated over time. I feel like we've definitely gotten a bit further with having a partnership through one of our main products, which is the King Pad, where CertiK becomes a very, very highly qualifying standard for projects, startup projects that want to list, obviously, on the pad, on the King Pad. So just excited to be here. I'm happy to take questions. I'm happy to, of course, proceed as you wish. As you're the host, I will definitely allow you to guide me through however you wanna conduct this, of course.
For sure. I appreciate it, Benson. And Travis, you want to just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your work?
Why is my camera so zoomed in there?
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
So Benson basically covered everything. So we've been working on this for quite some time now. Obviously, we've partnered with CertiK because, well, part of our ecosystem is the King Pad. With the King Pad, the idea of that is to increase the space security. We've been around for a long time now, through meme season, through utility season, there was a lot of smoke and mirrors in that as well. So the idea was if there's a problem, the best way to fix it is at the source, the root of the problem. So we thought that via our ecosystem, King Finance, we could essentially create a launch pad, and we could be the ones that introduce these projects to the space, with going through, obviously, intense KYC, good audit as well, and proof of product, and mainly docs teams, because I think we do need a Web 2 standard of business in Web 3. Web 3 is more advanced technologically, of course, and to be honest, a lot of us are very for the digital era, where we have more freedom over our funds, and we can't obviously get frozen by banks. But we are behind in the fact that business practices need to be more up to scratch, need to be more transparent, need to be more communicative. So yeah, there was a big gap in the space for the KingPad, and obviously we can go ahead and list these projects from KingPad on the DEX itself that we plan on building in the future as well. And if Benson hasn't talked about it already, the metaverse is a very good way for us to onboard users from Web 2 to Web 3. We've already spent over $200,000 on the metaverse, and obviously there's a way to go with that as well. Coming soon with the wearable integrations and cosmetics. Very cool way to do a QR code campaign over various cities in the world and get people just playing, socializing inside the metaverse. Then they can learn about crypto from there. So yeah, Benson did a very good introduction on where we're at right now. Great to be with you today, and yeah, that's my introduction as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Travis. I think you've made a lot of great points that we'll explore a little more deeply throughout the course of this AMA. You're right that I think Web3 has a lot of great innovation, a degree of immaturity that makes the space a whole lot of fun. But I think there is a role for the maturity that you guys are bringing with your focus on security and legitimate projects and really working with the leading blockchain security platform from the beginning. So that's great to hear. You touched on a few of King's different services and platforms. How do you tie it all together? What's the mission behind everything? Can you just give us the elevator pitch on King as a whole?
Yeah, definitely happy to cover that. So when it comes to King Finance as a whole, we can call King Finance the heart of the company, and from that heart, you get 3 different branches that have different functionalities and have different business models. From on one side, we've developed a very, very innovative gaming ecosystem, which it could be described as a metaverse, as it covers most of the qualities of the so-called metaverses that we've seen lately around, but at the same time it has a little twist where you are able to enjoy a more colorful, cartoonish experience, though very, very linked to a real life ecosystem where you can trade, where you can change your outfits, where you can eventually chat, reunite, have private parties or your land plots. There are plenty of things you can do alongside with competing, which is one of the main focuses of King Floki. This was started with that main objective, which was competition. We think that games that don't involve any kind of competition are not fun for the communities, right? Because I think the nature of the human being is competitive, and we like competing with each other. We like being better than our neighbor, and that's why, the nature of King Floki is that. One thing that I have not mentioned that I think is extremely relevant to mention is that this is a WebGL engine, so you can play from your browser. You don't need to download anything. You don't need to have a bunch of storage on your device. You can play online. It's stored in the cloud, and you can play with just 5 megabytes of download speed. That's where the innovative side of things come. Is a bit of a challenge because people need to understand this concept a bit better. But once people start understanding it, and once the very comes out next week, people are gonna start realizing how powerful the whole engine is. Now, on another side, we have KingPad. I just mentioned at the beginning, KingPad is a launch pad for startups in decentralized finance. These startups eventually are able to get a different feeling. It's a centralized launchpad. The word centralized can sound a little off to decentralized finance, as it can be contradictive. But when it comes to ensuring, or at least I would say ensuring at 99% rate, the security of the investors, there needs to be centralization to it. in a certain extent. Okay. Centralization in this side of things leads to, of course, us being able to control how things are going. Most launch pads out there are open source. You join the website and you can launch a project without even having more than 2-3 filters. We have extensive filters. We filter from a simple, I would say simple yet in-depth KYC, all the way to the business model and how that business model could be sustainable in the future. As what we're trying to avoid is having just thin air sold in our platform. We don't want our investors, we don't want our followers to be investing in thin air. We want them to be investing in the future. We want them to be investing in real startups that have a future, are providing a future in different fields.
For sure. Yeah. I think you're right that centralization. Go for it. Carry on. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that's pretty much it when it comes to KingPad. So I'm happy to see where you stand in this concept.
Also,
I think it's a good one.
Just to add onto what Benson said, is that the thing with KingPad is, like, we've been there, seen it, done it. You know, it's a saying in England that, but we've seen the space, we've seen what needs to be changed. Don't get me wrong. Back in meme season, it was very fun at the start. A lot of people were running projects or gambles, I would say, where it could become something amazing, like Shiba, Baby Doge, things like that. Yep. There were a lot of good people that were running them, and people could make crazy money on them. It was a crazy time. But a little after that came smoke and mirror utility projects that would promise things and not deliver them. And then these just farming devs that would just take people's money and not build anything or not be transparent, where if you're running a gamble, don't say you're doing something you're not. That's misleading. It's completely wrong. And there was just a complete phase of that. That happened for a long time. The same people would just post them over and over and over again. They wouldn't improve. And it was time for, I think there was a big gap in the market in itself for making a big improvement to our space. And who's better to do it than someone that's got experience from the bottom up? So we thought that we could design KingPad to try and push our space into a more mature area and safer area where people could launch proof of product, where they can show us that they've been building before they even consider launching. So we're not raising money for someone that's just doing absolutely nothing. They have to go through an intense KYC that even pinpoints locations. And up to now, I believe the 7 projects that we've got on our further stages of allowing them to launch, they're all doxed as well. And I think that's extremely important. There are a few people that have got valid reasons as to why they can't, which I understand. But predominantly, if we want Web 2 to come to Web 3, the business practice and standard needs to be taken from Web 2 to Web 3. We have a business infrastructure in Web 2 for a reason. I'm not a big advocate for what's the word for it? Centralization. But when it comes to launching a business, essentially, the centralization needs to be there to protect people as well, or educate people at the minimum.
No, I agree 100%. I think centralization is a bit of a dirty word in crypto sometimes, and that's not even necessarily what is happening here. I think separating the signal from the noise is a big challenge. There's more than 10,000 Web3 projects. Not all of those are legitimate. Not all of those are building a proper product, but the ones that are deserve attention, and they deserve attention from people who have experience in the space, who can conduct these like security evaluations, KYC. So yeah, I think bringing the real quality projects to the fore is a mission that we share with KingPad as well. So great to hear that you guys are doing that. And so the KYC is another one you touched on. I think anonymity obviously has a pretty strong tradition in crypto, but when you're building a product that solicits millions of dollars of donations from your community, there needs to be a level of trust there. A level of commitment and standing behind your project publicly. So good to hear that we're very aligned on those values, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to happen. Like CertiK back in the day as well, like worked with, you remember meme season was brilliant. People could make so much money from just absolutely nothing. It was life-changing for a lot of people. But then a lot of people that like to mislead and scam people, they just came out of nowhere. They could see that it's easy for people to just jump in things, and they just took advantage of it and really destroyed the trust in that area of the space. It was good for some time, but then big influx of idiots, and then they also went towards utility coins once they saw, oh, we can do this with memes, and now think about what we could do if we just post a product that we're not actually freaking building. Like I myself, I invested 6 figures in, it was a project that was built, well, they weren't, but it was very bloody convincing. They were building like, well, I don't know how to describe, but essentially like a projector for your NFTs, where you could connect to this software and you could display your NFT as like a life-size model. It looked fantastic, and same thing, just absolutely nothing, baseless.
These people are expert marketers, but not quite as good at actually building and delivering a product.
100%.
Yeah, great to hear that. I mean, I think that experience really shows you what you do value in the space, and helps you pick up on the red flags that some projects exhibit. So yeah, tough lesson.
How to move forward as well. People who've got experience from the bottom up, they need to be the ones that are implementing safety precautions and moving the space forward, because we have the experience of what happens if you don't do that. And we all want Web3 to move forward, of course. So centralization, it's, in terms of banking, everybody's like, obviously we don't want centralized banking. We don't want people being able to freeze our funds. But in terms of an actual launch pad, there has to be a level of centralization of people with more experience to keep those less experienced safe.
No, I agree. And I think you're curating a list of quality projects, and that's what the security leaderboard at CertiK does as well. You could argue that that's centralized because it's a platform that we've built using different sorts of data, on-chain and off-chain data. But at the end of the day, it provides a service, and no one's being forced to no one's being forced to invest on KingPad. No one's being forced to use the security leaderboard. These are free tools that are out there to help people make informed decisions and have a better Web3 experience. I think the ongoing prevalence of scams and hacks and everything is a bit of a depressing sort of thing for the industry as a whole. So the best way, however we can avoid that, is great, and you guys are doing a lot of work there. So that's KingPad, King Floki, and King Land. Could you just touch on those as well a little bit?
Yeah, certainly. So Benson's more the man to go into detail with this, but essentially with King Floki, it's the fun aspect of the project, so that we can essentially integrate Web 2 users to Web 3. It's like a social hub with addictive games all around it, wearables. The first competition being implemented is like a fashion show, which is voted by users. Very fun things that make a big difference, where people can hang out, talk to their friends, make new friends, have discussions about Web3 or even not Web3. It's just a great way to integrate people who have no idea about crypto to dip their toes into Web3. And if they come in through the King Floki world, then they come towards KingPad, and then they fingers crossed they have a great experience when they first come into Web3, whereas a lot of users don't. So essentially the way to expand, and the main thing for anything is user base. So we need to focus on our user base. By doing this, we can obviously market the game, which is very attractive. It's less serious and sort of what appeals to a lot of people, actually. We can market that on YouTube, of course, and also we want to do a QR code campaign. I believe if we can get QR codes in many, many, many places, get the community working on those QR codes, and just bringing users straight into the world, a lot of people will become users, and the user base will keep on growing. QR code campaigns can keep on coming if they're working well. They're not that expensive to do, to mass produce. So as far as I'm aware, anyway. So yeah, we've got a great model over at King Floki as well, and the land part comes into it with the actual land plots. So you obviously have legitimate crypto businesses that maybe they want a permanent advertising slot in King Floki world because the user base is good, where that's their land for as long as they want it until they want to sell it on. So essentially, users and companies can purchase land as King land within the metaverse. The other area that obviously we plan on going into is the DEX. Haven't got any details on that yet because it was a slight adaptation to the overall business plan to align with future regulations, as I was doing a lot of research into that.
Sure.
But essentially with King Pad and King DEX, obviously people that launch on the DEX, theoretically they'll want to go on the pad launch on the pad, but theoretically they'll want to go on the DEX as well. So there'll be a fee structure where a partial fee of that is paid in King, same for the launch pad. So that under the Howey Act or the Howey test, however you want to call it, we don't come under people having an expectation of profit under the actions of us. The currency will be purchased externally or contractual or, agreements where we purchase on externals' behalf. So King becomes an active currency within the ecosystem, which will future be integrated into just various areas of the company itself as a currency and then people can see as a quotation valuable asset. So that's sort of how we're rolling with it at the moment. There's multiple avenues for co-marketing, such as we do with CertiK yourselves, because we have a launch pad, which is good for all service providers to, as the user base grows, of course, it's great for service providers to be advertised and collide work with the launchpad itself. And secondly, people who want to come onto the metaverse could be a major project, big co-marketing opportunity for both sides there. And the DEX, we don't have to charge everybody to list on the DEX. Obviously, it will be part of the business model. If our community is significantly larger than the one trying to list with us, of course, we're going to charge a fee, and that will be partially in King. But we can list very big projects with, especially certain connections that I have with certain projects, or one that I'm thinking of in particular, I should say, but many other small ones too, where we can obviously co-market with them in that sense too. So, like I said at the beginning of this sort of speech, the user base is the most important part of any business. It's like if you go to Coca-Cola, if you don't have people going to the shop and buying Coca-Cola, how's the business function?
Sure.
You have to have a very, very good user base, and there's many ways that we can build that up in the various sectors of what we're building.
Well, I think you do have a very good user base because we got a whole lot of audience question submissions for this AMA. You touched a little bit on the tokenomics, and we do have a question asking for a little more detail on that. It's from Telegram user Hoga69. Could you explain more about how your internal circular economy works within the ecosystem and how it benefits users of your 3 services?
Yeah. Benson will touch up on this after I speak initially because he is more of a Solidity man. I'm sort of I like to be sort of like the creator. Like I like to think of things, and Benson and the guys, they're brilliant. They make them happen. So essentially, what the tokenomics entail is we want to be a zero tax token. There is a way that people can purchase our King Pass, which reduces tax by 60% right now, which will be 2% in and out. But currently we have 5 and 5, which for the foreseeable future will be staying as we develop the ecosystem. So Benson can go ahead and talk about that. But in terms of the internal economy, that's where details will be revealed a little bit later as we update our white paper. Because as you're well aware, like there's the XRP case with regulators and things like this going on in crypto. The line in the sand is sort of there, but it isn't. No one can have anything happen at the moment because the lines aren't there. But in the future, they will come. So we need to be positioned in a very good manner so that King is certainly a currency and an asset and not a security. So recently I've restructured various parts of the business so that King is a service fee rather than anything else. So all of these details will be published within the white paper. Obviously, it's a busy time at the minute. We have our first King Pad launch coming up in literally just 2 days is the first sale, less than now. So it's been this week really that I've been readapting everything, but a full explanation of once I've discussed with the guys, well, they confirm will be in the white paper. So at the minute, there's going to be a King service fee on the DEX and the pod. The King token can be implemented in various ways across the ecosystem. The taxation on the token itself right now, not the services, is 5.5 with a King Pass 2.2. And yeah, Benson, anything you want to add? Because you are Solidity man.
Yeah, it's not even about Solidity. I think it's more about the whole economy that we're building. King is a currency at the end of the day, so it is the way to obviously purchase our different services as well, and at the same time, by being a part of King, you are a part of the whole business ecosystem. I kind of compare it to the stock market. It's a different way to invest, but very similar to the stock market and how a company would get listed in the stock market. Always with that decentralized touch, which is beautiful, which is needed, I think, up to now in 2023, because we all know that centralization is definitely not taking many companies anywhere lately. Now, when it comes to our circular economy, all of our branches are working together towards the same goal. At the same time, they are linked. I've said this many times. If King Floki generates 10 times what KingPad is generated, this is a pool that's the King Finance pool, the development pool, just helps each branch to grow and to fulfill the needs that it has over our semester analysis that we do. So at the end of the day, if KingPad is lacking a certain aspect, and we see that, and we see a potential improvement, I would say room within KingPad specifically, then of course these funds are allocated as these branches that we have require. So that's why the internal circular economy, because they feed each other constantly. It's not that they are separated and if KingPad goes well, then King Floki will be terrible. They will all be balanced. That's what King Finance tries to offer, of course. Now there's only one currency within the ecosystem, which is King, which is the main, and is the most important asset that you can have if you want to use King, because it does allow you to have a bunch of benefits. And at the same time, we built the King Pass, which is a VIP kind of golden pass that allows you to have a bunch of different VIP benefits within the ecosystem. And the King Pass overall is NFT based, so it's an NFT code that, just like any other NFT, allows you to have plenty of functions thanks to NFT technology. So we've pushed NFT technology to the highest extent that we could, to link it to everything, both the token, the taxation of the token, and everything is automatic. You don't need to do anything, just hold a King Pass, and it's linked to the taxation of the token, so to the fees. You pay less fees if you have a King Pass. It's linked to the wearables of the game. You automatically have access to them earlier than others, to the different seasons. You have access to special pieces as well that nobody else have access to. Basically, there are a bunch of perks you get from being a King Pass member. So that's basically how it works. Everything is well connected within King Finance. We've just not thrown different products out of nowhere like I've seen around. We've built it as a whole, as a whole piece together. It's a bit of a puzzle, and everything just sits in the right place.
Yeah,
that's a really fascinating look into the design of the protocol. I think the puzzle metaphor is a good one. I mean, you're building a whole lot of interconnected services, and it's good to hear there've been some really thoughtful decisions around the token design, the use of the token, these NFT passes, even the efforts, the regulatory efforts to comply completely with all the shifting regulation that's going on. Travis, I don't know if you want to add any more on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what I've been stressed out with on redesigning for the last week or so. and around that anyway. Yeah, because I was speaking to, I mean, I have a lot of friends in the space, and I was just speaking to one a little bit about the Howie, because originally we wanted to sort of touch onto real estate and build up a portfolio of real estate, which is fantastic. That would be a great thing to do. But with the Howie test, which was actually formed on real estate, with the regulatory lines not drawn, it could just put a firing target on our heads later down the line. And with King, we want to, of course, build a business and a project that is going to be here. I always say this, a decade from now. Like right now, I would personally say, you know, it's very early. We plan on being here next decade. We're building to be here next decade. So in our infancy, we make the changes that are necessary to the ecosystem in terms in regards to protecting investors and the business itself, so that later down the line we don't come into any problems regulatory wise. Hence why the service fee has been introduced instead of buybacks and burns. Like a lot of projects still do buybacks and burns. They advertise it, which right now it's okay. And we were doing that to some extent up until recently. But when those regulatory lines are drawn in the sand, that instantly comes under #3, I believe. Don't quote me, 3 or 4 of the Howie Act, where people, or Howie test, where people are essentially expecting profit from the efforts of others, which it would technically be like that. So we've adapted it and changed it so that King is clearly a currency and an asset, so that when those regulatory lines are drawn for crypto in the sand, that King is in the 1% of projects that are fully set up for that. The only thing we will have to change is staking, due to the staking protocol laws that will come in 2024. But yeah, we want to be set up to be in the best position for the future and for the business. So that's why I've redesigned in multiple ways, so that King is the currency of the ecosystem. It's a service fee. So if we burn, it's based on someone else giving us permission to burn on their behalf, or they just burn on their behalf as the service fee. So it's not our actions that are doing that. It's other people that are doing it to keep the decentralization there. And so King is seen as a currency and an asset. People don't realize that these things are very important. If we'd have gone down and hadn't included King Dex and the service fees and King Pardon the service fees, and we'd have gone straight into the real estate route, once we have those properties down the line, and if we got into that situation where we clearly put a target on our heads as a security when lines are drawn, it's a big thing to change a big part of your ecosystem later down the line. And if you instantly get that problem from being a security, then that can impact you as well. So yeah, I took it upon myself to do some digging, reevaluating, redesigning, and constructing our ecosystem so that we are on that 1%, where we are on the right side of that line when it comes to security and not security later down the line. Whereas I believe 99% of projects are going to be on the complete wrong side of the line and have to really make some big changes once they're already quite far down in their developments.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear you taking a very proactive approach to that, and really a long-term approach as well, planning on being here in 10 years. I think that's something that can sometimes be lacking from the space, which is very, very short-term oriented, but you're building a real product that will provide real value to people for a long time to come. So we're just about out of time now, but if you guys have any final closing comments, it sounds like KingPad is very close to launch. 2 days, you just said, first project. So everyone can head on over to the Security Leaderboard to check out your entry there, and kingworld.finance to see more. Anywhere else people should get in touch?
Yeah, you can follow our Twitter, which is @KingFinance, I believe. Yeah, make sure I get that completely spot on. Feel free to join us on Telegram and ask any further questions. And due to my recent research on all of the regulatory possibilities, I will just say sleep on King at your own risk. That's what I'll say.
That's a good way to end it. Thank you, Benson. Thank you, Travis, for coming on today. Great chat. Look forward to seeing all the work you guys do in future, and working with CertiK as well. So thank you for taking security seriously and building great products.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a big pleasure. I'll see you soon.
Looking forward to it.